My mother discovered that I could make 23.6 million yen a day from gaming, yet I still couldn't find a wife. So she secretly slipped something into my wine and put a pair of sisters in my room. It happened to be the two daughters of the Shiramin family, one of Kyoto's most powerful financial dynasties. I was so excited that I couldn't sleep all night. A year later, someone sent by the Shiramin family invited me to a luxurious villa. There, I saw the Shiramin sisters holding two little girls named Runa and Yuzuki. They also showed me more than a dozen paternity tests from respected institutions in Japan and overseas. That was when I learned that I was the father of two children. And, crucially, their mothers were not the same woman. Now the girls were 3 years old. They were adorable, clever, and constantly wanted to be near me. At that moment, I came to the Shiramin family carrying gifts I had bought for the child and the child's mother, nervously knocking on the study door. I heard a pleasant, mature voice coming from inside, saying I was coming in. Only then did he push the door open and walk in. Reika Shiramin didn't sit at her desk, but stood by the window, holding a document as she returned. Seeing me, Reika Shiramin felt like a melting glacier, her face wearing a gentle smile. She curiously pointed to the bag in my hand. "What is this? This is mine." I glanced at the Baifa Gangfei on Reika Shiramin's hand, suddenly feeling a bit self-harming and bribery. I gave her some bonuses, bought for you and the junior. When Reika Shiramin heard I had bought her a gift, a trace of madness flashed in her eyes. Her red lips curled slightly, she softly asked, "Then let me see, okay?" I handed the bag to Reika Shiramin and explained somewhat uncertainly, saying the same ones were all purchased. "I've been thinking about how you've troubled me all this time. Even though the items are cheap, this is all I can offer now." Reika Shiramin said nothing. She opened one of the packages. It was a beautiful necklace, pieced together from fragments, with a dolphin carved from sapphire in the middle. "I really like this one. I remember to ask for 100,000, you should get a bonus." I interrupted her, saying she was fine with the child. I was just taking care of the expenses, or would you pay for it? Reika Shiramin looked at me with my head bowed. At that moment, the nearly pathological comradeship in my heart kept surging, wishing she could merge me into her very blood and bones so I could never leave her again. But it's not the right time yet. The sisters have been planning for so long, and there can't be any mistakes. Kaito Kagami, your feelings matter most. Reika Shiramin smiled as she took off the necklace around her neck worth tens of millions, then put on the one I gave her. "I really like it. Thank you." Your guilt deepened, too. Reika Shiramin was very tolerant of me, never made things difficult for me, and even accompanied me like family. However, I still didn't know that I had already fallen into a trap, trapped for life in the trap set by the Shiramin sisters. Mad love. "Sis, I'm back." The door to Reika Shiramin's study was pushed open, and the only person who could swagger into her study so boldly was probably her sister, Shiori Shiramin. "Brother is here too." Chea smiled as he walked over. "Sister, is there something you need, brother?" Yes, after buying us a gift, Reika Shiramin smiled and handed the remaining unopened gift to Shiori Shiramin, then pointed to the necklace she was wearing. "It was the same as yours and mine." "Is that so?" When Shiori Shiramin saw the necklace around Reika Shiramin's neck, he eagerly took off his own strap and put it on. Then he gave me a charming smile and said, "Thank you, brother. I really like it." I scratched my head a little awkwardly. "This is the only bonus I get. If I earn more in the future, I'll try to buy even better ones." The two sisters exchanged a smile. Even if something was casually bought on the street, they would treasure it. "By the way, didn't I buy a gift for my brother?" Shiori Shiramin looked at Reika Shiramin and asked, "This time, you can't refuse your brother." At this moment, Reika Shiramin pointed to her desk, went over and took out a black box, inside which was a wristwatch. So beautiful. I'm not very familiar with luxury goods, but just by looking at this watch, I knew it was definitely expensive. Reika Shiramin smiled. "Your birthday is coming up, and the things you give you are never needed this time. I hope you won't refuse." I was about to refuse. Kolomuki had already pulled my right hand to put the watch on me. Strong Reika Shiramin's eyes instantly turned sinister, and a chilling aura slowly emanated from her. I couldn't help but shiver. How could it suddenly be so cold in October? "Brother, take it." Shiori Shiramin ignored his sister's terrifying aura and smiled at me as if completely unresponsive, reassuring, "It's not expensive." "Isn't it expensive?" I looked at the uniquely shaped watch on my wrist. It didn't look cheap no matter how I looked at it. "Ah, right, Vervil and Yuzuki are awake. Brother, go check on them." Shiori Shiramine winked at me. "Do sister and I still have something to discuss?" "Oh, okay. I'll go hear my daughter wake up right away." I couldn't hide the smile at the corner of my mouth and quickly turned to leave the study. Shiori Shiramine closed the door behind him, then turned to look at his sinister sister, laughing and saying, "Sis, is it really necessary? We agreed to have her with me, so why are you still angry? Yeah, if the person who touched her today was me, I'm afraid you'd be much worse off." The terrifying aura around Reika Shiramine slowly faded. "If you have something to say, tell me." Shiori Shiramine squinted, took out his phone, found the saved screenshot, and handed it to his sister, Ayaka Takashina, who was about to get engaged to Ryohei Kagami. Reika Shiramine glanced at the screenshot, a slight smile curling at the corner of her mouth, a hint of mockery in her tone. She had gotten what she wanted. Shiori's eyes slowly took on a dangerous red tint. After returning to Tokyo, she went straight to the apartment where Kaido had once lived and even rented it herself. But Reika Shiramine seemed to not care about half of it, huh? Wanting to revisit the old connection, huh? Sis, why don't I find someone to teach her a lesson? Unlike the obedient and adorable look she just showed in front of me, Shiori Shiramine now wore a sickly smile, his eyes full of murderous intent. Reika Shiramine looked at her sister and couldn't help but smile, saying there was no need for 3 years. She was just a few steps away from letting Kaido stay with us completely. Don't worry, Kaido has already given up on her. Now, as long as the daughters are around, no one can take Kaido away from us. As I left the study, Lian Meng ran to the room of the 2 little ones, just as she pushed open the door. On either side, 2 adorable little girls hugged Daddy. As fate would have it, the sisters had become pregnant by me at the same time and even gave birth on the same day. Reika delivered first by 1 hour, so Runa was the elder sister. Yuzuki was the younger sister. The 2 sisters hugged their father's neck together and happily kissed his cheek. However, the temperature suddenly dropped again, and I felt even lower than before. "Let's go, babies." "Dad brought you gifts, and I just feel something's off." Lian Meng carried the 2 girls downstairs. I didn't notice the gloomy faces of the Shiramine sisters at the study door. I regretted understanding and said coldly, "Although I love Runa and Yuzuki, why should they be honorably and honorably their own brothers? Hey, after all, they're his daughters?" Reika Shiramine wore a barely noticeable smile, but her hand gripping the doorframe slowly tightened. "Let's wait a bit longer." On one side, 2 little ones saw the cloth their dad bought and happily sat on the carpet playing together. My daily routine had become simple. Feed the girls, help them wash up, and put them to bed. At mealtimes, I naturally sat between them with 1 child on either side. Both girls were remarkably clever and could feed themselves with spoons and forks. Runa ate the vegetables, and Yuzuki too, otherwise Dad wouldn't play with you all. My daughters listened to me, and it's natural for kids to be picky eaters. But it's strange that as long as I have 2 kids, they behave obediently. Truly double standard. Shiori Shiramine pinched his daughter's little face in displeasure. "Why is it that when Mom tells you to eat vegetables, you refuse to eat them?" Shiori Shiramine didn't use much force. Yuzuki looked at me with a wounded expression and complained. "Mom hit me," and laughed angrily. "You've even learned to complain to your dad." "Mom didn't hit you," I said gently, smoothing my daughter's hair. "When Dad isn't home, you still need to listen to Mom and Aunt Shiori. Remember that, Runa. And you too, Yuzuki." The aunties and maids nearby watched the whole scene, with smiles like aunties, but Reika Shiramine and Shiori Shiramine looked at me with a somewhat uneasy light in their eyes. "Kaito, don't focus only on the girls." Reika placed an abalone in my bowl. "You've been working hard on your project lately. I'll have Chi send some supplements to your room." I quickly waved my hand. "Don't worry about finishing the food from last time, Sister Reika. I'm fine. I've acquired your program," Reika said with a smile. "Shiramine Holdings will pay you 236.2 million yen for it, plus a share of the future profits." I was stunned for a moment. "That's a lot, Sister Reika. I thought the program was worth only a few million yen at most." "Your program is worth that much," Reika said confidently. "That's the result of Shiramine Holdings, investment and technical divisions. Don't sell yourself short. Focus on your PhD and once the program is released, I'll have the finance department transfer the money to you. Thank you, Sister Reika. I finally let out a breath. All my hard work had not been wasted. At this moment, Shiori Shiramin blinked beside him. Brother is so capable, isn't this just a matter of time? All right, brother, eat quickly. Runa and Yuzuki shouldn't keep pestering Dad. Only by making him eat more can he truly accompany you both. My heart felt warm. In the past, no matter what achievements I made, no one could see it. From being a favored daughter, caring for children with my sisters, I was constantly encouraged and affirmed, giving me warmth I had never felt before. Even though I knew I wasn't good enough for them, I still wished life like this could last longer. After dinner, I took the two girls out to play. Today, Reika Shiramin and Shiori Shiramin had nothing much to do, so they played with my daughters for a while, and after some time, even helped them wash up. Reika Shiramin looked at me as I was blow-drying Runa Shiramin's hair and slowly said, "By the way, Kaido Kagami, there's something I think I need to tell you. Ayaka Takashina and your brother are getting engaged." I was a bit surprised. Was it so fast? I thought I'd have to wait a bit longer. Now, hearing that Ayaka Takashina is getting engaged to the brother she hates most, I feel nothing anymore. Reika saw how calm I was and smiled. "I thought you'd be upset." I shook my head. "There's nothing between Ayaka and me anymore. By the way, Sister Reika, I'll probably be back late tomorrow. I need to visit the rehabilitation center." "All right, you can drive." Reika Shiramin leaned in almost intentionally, half unintentionally. "Some of the cars were bought for you, but after all, you're Will and Yuzuki's father. Don't worry too much about the psychological burden. If you don't drive, either I or Shiori can take you there. Don't let me drive. Letting those two go is way too high profile." After putting the two girls to sleep, I went back to my room, washed up, changed into pajamas, and came out filled with a pleasant floral fragrance. I know this is the calming aromatherapy from my room. Reika Shiramin and Shiori Shiramin gave it to me. Previously, I sometimes had trouble sleeping while writing programs, but after this aromatherapy, my sleep quality improved instantly. I lay on the bed and fell asleep without even one beat. After a few minutes, the door slowly opened. Reika Shiramin and Shiori Shiramin walked in their nightgowns. Shiori Shiramin sat by the bed while extinguishing the aroma. "Sister, maybe she's using too much. Today is her first time using new ingredients." "Brother, with new ingredients, won't you have any side effects?" "It's fine. I had the medicine tested 5 times this time." "No problem." Reika Shiramin lay on her left side of mine, gently caressing my face. At that moment, she could no longer suppress the wild love in her heart. Her eyes burned with passion. "Kaido, remember, Shiori and I are the people who love you the most, and you love us the most, so tell me you won't leave us, right?" To my surprise, I was asleep and murmuring in my dreams. "I won't leave Sister Reika or Shiori." That's right, not leaving. Reika Shiramin's body seemed to tremble, not nervous, but an extreme excitement, as if prey had fallen into a trap. She said, "You love Shia the most, you love Shiori the most. I love Shia the most, I love Shiori the most, saying, you are our forever. I will forever be yours." Only then did Reika Shiramin smile with satisfaction. But Shiori Shiramin seemed unable to hold back anymore, looking at me with a dangerous smile on his face. Brother Shiori Shiramin murmured as he wanted to kiss me. Seeing his seemingly uncontrollable gaze, Reika Shiramin grabbed his hand and hypnotized him. After all these years, she had waited a few days. Just as Shiori Shiramin was about to retort, he felt his sister trembling uncontrollably, and the look in her eyes that were even more crazy than his. Shiori Shiramin could only give up helplessly and force herself. How could that be? What they wanted was Kaito, whose body and soul belonged to them. Early the next morning, I got up and stretched. To be honest, the aromatherapy worked really well, and I didn't sleep well last night and slept deeply. After getting up, tidying up, and changing clothes, I naturally put the Knights of the Round Table that their sisters had given me on my wrist. I would only put it away properly, but today I didn't feel that way. I casually put the watch on my wrist, put on a jacket, and left the room. Dad's 2 little ones were already up. Because Mom had told them Dad was sleeping, the 2 little ones behaved and didn't disturb me. At that moment, Takumi Sakaki, standing nearby, saw me and smiled, saying, "Mr. Kagami is up. The eldest miss has gone to the company, and the second young lady is waiting to have breakfast with you." Sia left so early again. Takumi Sakaki was taken aback by the young lady. Kaito Kagami suddenly addressed her in such an intimate way, but Kaito Kagami still smiled and comforted the two little ones as usual. There was something going on at the young lady's company, so Takumi Sakaki left a bit early. After all, Kaito Kagami was the biological father of the two young ladies, and besides, he was involved in some things back then. In his heart, he wondered if Kaito Kagami had finally come to his senses. "Brother, come eat!" Shiori Shiramin changed into a pure white long dress today, wearing the necklace I gave him. I have to go to the company soon and attend an event. If it ends early, I'll go to the Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center and visit Grandma together, okay? I felt a bit awkward and said goodbye. Last time you all went to the Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center, everyone knows about me. I still have to go to school this afternoon, and I'll come back early tonight. After thinking for a moment, I asked again, Shiori, aren't you going to eat that little cake? I'll bring it to you when I come back tonight, okay? Takumi Sakaki, standing to the side of the strong man, was even more stiff. Mr. Kagami had already opened up 2 meridians, so how did he wake up feeling like he had changed? He noticed that his 2 young ladies sometimes struggled to speak clearly. Today, not only has the way they address them, but their way of speaking has also changed, and they're a bit doting. However, Shiori Shiramin showed no surprise at all. Instead, he smiled happily. Okay, I want chocolate flavor. Brother, it really works. Sister, you really are a genius. Runa and Yuzuki love fruit-flavored food, right? Daddy will bring it for you too, okay? I've kissed my 2 daughters, and I'll go quickly. Let's eat first. Takumi Sakaki watched from the side, feeling that something was off. Kaito Kagami seemed no different from usual, yet somehow different. Forget it, to some extent, this was a good thing. After breakfast, I settled the girls at home and went to the garage. I found the limited edition Maybach they had bought for me. Seeing me drive out in a Maybach, I was shocked again. Miss Takumi Sakaki got into the bridal sedan for the first time. Mr. Kagami finally agreed to live the life of a pretty boy. The second young lady, Mr. Kagami, drove out. Takumi Sakaki saw Shiori Shiramin about to leave, so she quickly reported to her what was going on. The watch you and the young lady bought for him was the one he brought to the Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center to visit today, and his grandmother had actually driven the car she bought for him too. Shiori Shiramin didn't care about every single thing. Isn't that great? By the way, remember to contact the other car you bought for your brother and return it as soon as possible. Come on, Mr. Kagamimo, sir. Are you really still so degenerate? Takumi Sakaki sighed. Being able to hold on for so long was already pretty good, but he just couldn't figure out how Kaito Kagami had just slept all night. Kaito Kagami was a bit different from before. On the other side of the car, I couldn't help but sigh that the life of the rich is just that dull, and I find it dull. In the past, I wasn't the last to sit and make a business selling Maybach, but by comparison, the gap between the Kagami families and this one is obvious. When I arrived at the Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center, I took the fruit I bought for my grandmother on the way to New Treaty. The people at Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center knew me well. Previously, Reika and Shiori had come together and given every staff member a red envelope worth about 47,000 yen. They had even treated the entire center to lunch from a 5-star hotel. The entire Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center, whether staff or patients, saw me and I was all kind and kind-hearted. Mr. Kagami, a caregiver lady, came and hurried over when she saw me. Please go take a look. Today, a woman came along with a young man to see the old lady. The old lady didn't argue, but she didn't look well. Seeing the young woman, when I heard that Mr. Kagami Hugong had arrived, I couldn't help but sneer and guess who it was, without even needing to guess. When I walked into Grandma's room, I heard a voice that made me extremely disgusted, saying disgusting things. Mom, why bother with shares? Holding them is useless. The shares is also giving Kaito a chance. Why make such a scene as a family? Chisato Himuro was my biological mother and the president of Himuro Jewelry. She was strikingly beautiful, and I had inherited many of my features from her and my father, Masayoshi Kagami. Standing behind her was a young man in his 20s named Reiji Kiryu, Chisato's assistant and the godson she had raised from childhood. So 5 Kaito and Jingpeng each, 5 each. You know, Kaito isn't working at the company, giving him too many shares isn't appropriate. Chisato Himuro patiently tried to persuade him, while the grandmother lying in the hospital bed looked out the window, looking haggard and silent. Chie Fujisawa, who was taking care of Grandma, glared fiercely at Chisato Himuro. If Grandma hadn't bare hands on him, he would have slapped him across the face. Mom, why bother? The whole family has fallen into this mess. In the end, it was because you raised Kaito wrongly, and you raised him wrong. I understand your concern, but now you and father-in-law barely see each other once a year. It's really pointless to make a scene like this. As long as you hand over your shares, I guarantee that your father-in-law and Changshan won't pursue the matter between you and Kaito. Grandma sneered. I really thank you all. I made a mistake raising my child, and this is the first time I've heard that a mother abandoned her 2-year-old son to her mother-in-law and didn't care for her alone. If something goes wrong, it's not Chisato Himuro who blames the mother-in-law. You raise someone else's son with great enthusiasm, but you ignore your own son. I left my grandson a way out. And I made mistakes. Chisato Himuro's face flushed red and then pale after being touched by his grandmother, but he really had no room to argue. At this moment, Reiji Kiryu beside her gave a forced smile and said, her voice matching his appearance, delicate and lacking breath, Grandma, that's not quite right. Godmother. Godmother? She raised 4 older brothers herself, and with her younger brother gone, there was nothing she could do. Grandma interrupted him bluntly, saying this was your place to speak. Chisato Himuro was a good kid you raised. When elders talk, an outsider or a junior would interrupt, Mom, please don't make things difficult for him. One sentence and I wouldn't be allowed to speak. Back then, grandson, why did you all insult me so casually? Who is your son? Is he born to be shameless? Grandma doesn't spare Chisato Himuro at all. I still say the same thing. The shares belong to my grandson, Kaito. As the saying goes, true filial devotion is shown through actions. Besides Kaito, who in this family has actually cared for me? How could I possibly recognize this old lady? I don't even recognize you, the eldest young master, and the young ladies of the Kagami family. I'm not worthy to be with them. If you have time, talk nonsense here with me. Go back and persuade your husband and father-in-law. Heaven is watching over the living, but not raising them, and still shipping Kaito. Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning? Chisato Himuro was so angry he trembled all over, glaring fiercely at his grandmother, then sneered coldly. Mom, are you trying to completely tear your face apart? Besides Kaito Kagami, that unfilial son and those 10 shares, what else do you have? My husband and 2 sons don't recognize me. 3 granddaughters and 1 grandson ignores you. I know you're like this. Even if I worked myself to death, I wouldn't let you raise my son like that. What am I like? At that moment, I walked in, expressionlessly. Reiji Kiryu saw me instinctively take 2 steps back and hid behind Chisato Himuro. But I didn't even glance at him, walked over to Grandma, and gently comforted her, saying, Grandma, I'll take them out. Right, Kaito Kagami? Aren't you rude? The elders are talking. Chisato Himuro deliberately used Grandma's words just now to annoy the grandparents. And I'm your mom. Didn't you see I'm sitting here? President Himuro, if you have something to say, let's talk outside. I helped Grandma lie down and pulled the blanket over her. Stop making a scene here. Do you really know what I'm capable of? I don't hit you because you're my biological mother. I don't easily hit women. But I can't protect that 4th woman behind you. Young Chisato Himuro stood up angrily, but she didn't dare say another word. What skills did Kaito Kagami have? She truly knew Master Zhang's last disciple. Grandma, I'll go send them back and keep you company. I put the fruit and nutritional supplements on the bedside table, then turned to Chi Fujisawa and said, Chi Fujisawa, I have fresh carrot pears here. Please help wash them later and have some with Grandma. Go ahead, Kaito, Chie glared fiercely at Chisato. If you have something to say, just say it. I've trained too. If you won't hit a woman, I will. I smiled and waved my white hands. When I turned to look at my mother, I immediately looked cold, pointed to the door, and went out to speak. Chisato Himuro and Reiji Kiryu didn't dare to really provoke me, so I gritted my teeth and left. The 3 of us went downstairs to the rehabilitation center. I said impatiently, President Himuro, my grandmother already told you. If you want the shares, buy them at their fair value. Offering nothing in exchange for stock in a listed company is ridiculous. Kaito, why tear the family apart over this? Those shares aren't something I can simply hand over. I'll give you another stake in Himuro jewelry and 71,000 yen in cash. Stop, President Himuro. I've already cut ties with your family, I pointed at Reiji. You and your son control 10% of Himuro jewelry, while I have only 3%. That's not how fair business works. Reiji, I've taken care of GU since I was little, been filial since I was little, and even though my health isn't good, I work hard at my company. You weren't my son, I didn't give you a single cent, and you still want shares in my company. So it's my fault? I sneered. My biological mother and father really are a perfect match. You and Chairman Kagami decided together to send me away, and now you call me unfilial. What a joke, President Himuro. Reiji immediately stepped in front of Chisato. Brother, how can you say that? This isn't Mom's fault. Blame me if you have to. I couldn't even be bothered to bother with him, then clenched my fists. The sword struck Reiji Kiryu's blade, and then dodged back behind Chisato Himuro. A barely noticeable mist flashed in Chisato Himuro's eyes, not at Kaito Kagami, but at Reiji Kiryu. Don't come back. Grandma doesn't have much time left. I looked at Chisato with open hatred. President Himuro, your husband, your father-in-law, your children, and that godson of yours can all live their lives. I hope you enjoy the consequences of your choices. I looked at the two of them with a mocking smile. After all, you raised your godson from childhood. Look how useful he is. President Himuro, you really know how to play the game. What the hell did you say? With just one sentence, Chisato Himuro, the CEO, immediately started cursing at you. What the hell are you talking about? Is this the quality of a Kyoto University student? All right, don't blame me. These days, with people like you, godparents have become derogatory terms. I paused deliberately, then gave a half smile and said, could this be your own son? Otherwise, how do you explain that you always take him with you wherever you go? Chisato Himuro's face turned pale. Reiji Kiryu's gaze also began to evade. Seeing this, I gave a cold smile. As expected, Reika Shiramin and Shiori Shiramin's people were right. Go back and tell Chairman Kagami that if you want the shares, bring the money. I really don't want to look at him any longer, which disgusts me. Also, stop getting close to me and Grandma. Recognize yourself. You are my mom, Grandma act, and if you don't, then you're worthless. Was furious and humiliated. Chisato Himuro rushed forward, ready to slap me across the face. I grabbed her wrist. I was foolish enough to think of you as my mother. Miss Himuro, don't force me to actually hit you. Chisato Himuro was about to say something more, but when she saw the watch on Kaito Kagami's right wrist, she was momentarily stunned. Chisato Himuro, who had participated in Roger Dolby new product launches, immediately recognized that the watch on Kaito Kagami's hand was genuine. I glanced at the watch on my wrist, didn't understand what he meant, impatiently tossed out, none of your damn business, and then turned and went into the Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center. Godmother, are you all right? Reiji Kiryu only rushed over after seeing Kaito Kagami leave. Why don't we head back first? With my brother here, I'm afraid we can't make a deal either. Chisato Himuro didn't answer, but stared blankly at Kaito Kagami's back. When Kaito Kagami raised his hand to check the watch earlier, he was even more certain that it must be an authentic limited edition priced over 4 million. Kaito Kagami couldn't possibly afford it. Grandma does have shares, but she publicly ordered a lot of dividends at the end of the year, giving her roughly 7.09 million yen. Come with me to the Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center. There are some things I must ask. At Shiramin Tower, Reika was working when a message suddenly appeared on her phone. She glanced at it, frowned slightly, and pressed the intercom. Soon, the door opened and a woman in her 30s walked in. She was tall, dressed in a black suit, with short hair and a severe expression. Kureha, Chisato has been asking questions at the rehabilitation center, but she doesn't know you're involved, Reika said calmly. It looks like she's going after Kaito's grandmother again. Give her something else to worry about. Kureha nodded. Understood, Miss Reika. Would you like me to send my sister to warn her? There was no need to avoid dealing with the three families. They still had some use. Reika Shiramin smiled, but her smile carried a hint of chilling intent, while Grandma's side was still cold. The eldest miss had already done her best. Kureha Hanabusa sighed, saying, quote, if you and the second miss hadn't spent money hiring experts, Madame Mo would have left right then. And Reika Shiramin looked a bit dejected. That was Kaito's only relative. I just wanted her to be happy. Forget it. Go handle it. Kureha Hanabusa will find a way to pass the news to the Kagami family. I don't care about their stuff. I can give Kaito more, but they have to pay for the shares. I'll find a way to force them to set the price. In the Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center, Chisato Himuro felt the world spinning. She treated everyone in the hospital to luxury takeout from 5-star hotels. Each received a 47,000 yen red envelope, and then thought about the more than 94.49 million yen, the limited edition watch Kaito Kagami held. Chisato Himuro couldn't help but grit her teeth. Is Kaito Kagami being kept by some wealthy woman? This unfilial son, no wonder he's had no contact with his family for so long. Mom, Reiji Kiryu softly called out, but Chisato Himuro glared at him and whispered, "Forgot how I told you." And Reiji Kiryu quickly corrected themselves. "Godmother, why don't you go back and tell your husband Kaito Kagami that Kaito Kagami is really being kept as a mistress? If word gets out, it'll be our family's people." Chisato Himuro didn't answer, but instead pulled him out and stopped at the main entrance of the Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center. Chisato Himuro quietly said, "I need to ask who this unfilial son is really with." Whether young or old, anyone who can be so generous in dealing with someone probably isn't from some small faction. If this unfilial son really gets involved with some wealthy family's woman, the matter of Reiji probably won't be kept secret. When I got back to the ward, Grandma looked at me with concern and asked, "Kaito, your silly mom didn't make things difficult for you, did she?" "It's fine, Grandma isn't even my mom. I'll take an apple out of the bag and peel it with a fruit knife. Don't overthink it. If they like the shares, just give them to them." "Your child, that's your grandmother's anger." Taking advantage of her anger, she said, "Now that the Kagami family is in your hands, and Ryohei Kagami, it's basically over. While I still have the strength, hurry up and get this money out for you. Whether you and the Firamine family's daughter succeed or not, this money is enough for you to spend." I'm not pretending to be kind, but based on my understanding of the Kagami family, no matter how much Ryohei Kagami mistreated me, it was always right. Whenever I spent a little on me, they felt sorry for me. "Grandma, I have one question for you. If I take revenge on my parents, my grandfather, and my grandmother..." Grandma didn't answer or lend me the half-sized apple I handed her. The old lady sighed, her tone tinged with helplessness. "I know you hate them. Once I close my eyes, I won't care how much you make a scene." I guess the grandma would say this. After all, it was because she had spent half her life with her husband, who once truly loved her, and that she raised her son herself. "Actually, your father wasn't like this in the past. It was all that wretched woman." Grandma looked out the window, her eyes full of regret, blaming me for discovering it earlier. "Your father wouldn't have become like this later? Was it President Himuro?" Hearing my question, Grandma shook her head and said, "No, it wasn't her first love. A dancer named Rina Tsubaki, forget it? Kaito, you go back. I want to sleep for a while." I said nothing more, reminded Grandma to rest, and transferred 236,000 yen to Chie Fujisawa. She tried to refuse, but I insisted. Chie Fujisawa pulled Kaito Kagami out of the ward, then lowered her voice and said, "The old lady has been sleeping more and more lately, and her spirit is getting worse. You need to prepare early." I know Chie Fujisawa. I nodded and understood very well that Grandma had spent 2 years after Reika Shiramine and Shiori Shiramine paid a fortune to hire experts, then spent 2 or 3 million to get me back. I had to visit the Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center almost every other day, and even if I had no time, I would at least see Grandma. After saying goodbye to Chie Fujisawa, I left the Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center and was about to head to the parking lot. Chisato Himuro and Reiji Kiryu stopped me. "Is there something else? I don't want to get entangled with them too much. I've made everything I need to say very clear." Chisato Himuro sneered coldly. "Kaito Kagami, no wonder you're so tough. A student from Kyoto University is actually being kept by an old woman. You have no shame." I heard that these two still haven't left. I bet they found out what Reika Shiramine and the others did at the Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center before. "Do you think everyone is like you? Turn back and look at the person next to you, looking at how weak they are, counting goods and even spending some day on bed for. Nini, stop paying attention to Nini's and then tell me, why do you always bring her along wherever you go? What right do you and I have to resolve the matter with you? Yeah, so what right do I have to sue you about what happened?" Chisato Himuro was almost choked by my words. But I shoved her aside and walked straight toward the parking lot. This ungrateful son, Chisato Himuro, glared at Reiji Kiryu while going along with herself. You're just staring at her like that, making me mad. Why mislead me? Reiji Kiryu, actually I'm pretty timid. Back when I was with the Kagami family, he happened to be involved too. With his own body, Kaido Kagami could probably kick him into ICU with one kick. Forget it. With your build, Chisato Himuro sighed, this unfilial son. Before he could finish, I drove the limited edition Maybach toward them, lowered the window and said coldly, "Looks like President Himuro really knows how to keep you close." Seeing this, Chisato Himuro was completely stunned. The woman behind the limited edition watch, limited edition Maybach and Kaido Kagami, really liked him. Reiji glanced at me resentfully, then immediately lowered his head, afraid I might notice. After parking the car at Kyoto University, I received a video invitation with the note, Junior Shiramin. But usually when the sisters video call themselves, it's probably just kids making a fuss. Sure enough, as soon as the video connected, two chubby little faces crowded in front of the phone. Behind him was Shiori Shiramin, smiling at him. "Daddy, Daddy." I saw their upset encounter with Chisato Himuro just now, and instantly threw it out of thin air. Good dad still has work this afternoon, so he must come back soon, okay? I looked at my two daughters with affection. "Shiori, why are you home?" "No, everyone, you're at the office." Shiori Shiramin raised his phone and gave me a punch. It really was in his office. Sister booked a private restaurant for dinner today. "Eat out for brother." "When are you done?" "Remember to drive over to pick me up?" "All right, I got it." After coaxing my two daughters a bit more, I hung up the video call and got out of the car. Unexpectedly, after only a few steps, I heard a teasing voice. "Toma, your little brother is impressive," one of the men teased. Hearing that voice, my eyes instantly lost all warmth. Turning around, he saw Ryohei Kagami and a chubby man following him, accompanied by his female secretary. The chubby guy next to him with a smug attitude is also a little rich kid. Back in high school, we were classmates. Back then, he was bullied because of obesity, but I protected him. Later, just like Ayaka Takashina, he betrayed me. At that moment, Ryohei Kagami glanced at my limited edition Maybach, a trace of greed flashing in his eyes, then sneered and said, "Fine, Kaito Kagami, your face isn't for nothing. You've hooked up with some rich woman." Seeing this, I wasn't surprised at all, my own brother's usual tactic. He condemned himself as soon as he spoke, not wanting to waste words with them. I didn't even bother to spare them a glance. Just as I was about to leave, Ryohei Kagami suddenly blocked my way and reached out to the secretary. The female secretary was straightforward and took a gold foil iron sheet. Ryohei smiled playfully. My brother wouldn't refuse to attend Ayaka's engagement banquet, would he? Honestly, I really don't want to give you that face. I'm impressed by my black-rimmed glasses. I find you pretty funny. Ryohei Kagami, my unwanted friend, treat you like a treasure. I don't want a girlfriend. If you want to marry me, are you a Xianyu user or a professional critic? With just one sentence, Ryohei Kagami's face turned the color of pig liver. Kota Minazuki also felt a bit embarrassed. I know what you're worried about. It's just that I'm afraid I'll go back and compete with you against the Kagami family. After all these years, your 3 jumps in the river are all for this, isn't it? I crossed my arms and smiled as if I didn't care, saying, I've cut ties. It's been over 3 years, have I ever gone back? How come you've got your wish, and now you still come over like a dog? Why don't you want your front teeth? Hearing this, Ryohei Kagami instinctively took 2 steps back. He knew how terrifying my combat power was, but he just couldn't accept it. HMPH, you know your place. If I didn't come here for you, don't flatter yourself. Do you think letting a rich woman keep me gives you the right to challenge me? I'm the only biological son of the Kagami family. You're just a trash. I drove out of your home. To correct myself, I don't want you guys anymore. I suddenly feel like I'm wasting my time. I glanced at my watch and showed an impatient expression. I just make way for no reason, and don't waste my time. After leaving Kyoto University, Ryohei and the other 2 got into their car and left. He had never expected much. He brought Kota only to irritate me, yet he was the one who ended up humiliated. Pengay really has no choice. Kota Minazuki asked cautiously, holding 10% of the shares in his hand. From now on, HMPH, the old lady looks down on my shares, refusing to let go even if they die. Thinking of this, Ryohei Kagami gritted his teeth in anger. I must get the money, but I won't give him a single cent. Everything in the Kagami family is mine. Their car arrived at the underground garage where Kagami Holdings was located, and just as they got out, several black SUVs suddenly surrounded them. More than 20 bodyguards in black walked down. Before Ryohei Kagami and the other two could react, two drew their daggers. "What are you doing?" Ryohei Kagami instinctively stepped back. Meanwhile, Kota Minazuki got down and sat down on the floor. The female secretary's face turned pale, standing there trembling with fear. "Young Master Kagami, don't be afraid." Takumi Sakaki walked over calmly, hands behind his back. "Who we are doesn't matter. Our employer asked me to deliver a message. If you don't want anything to happen to Rina Tsubaki, persuade your father to go personally to the rehabilitation center and buy Madame Kagami shares at their fair price." Seeing the content in the photo, Ryohei Kagami felt as if he had been doused with cold water. So, what if Masayoshi Kagami finds out about what you and Rina Tsubaki did? Takumi Sakaki tightened his clean white gloves. With Masayoshi Kagami's heartless nature, if he didn't skin you alive, he wouldn't stop. I promise you. Ryohei Kagami hurriedly put away the photos. Kota Minazuki didn't see Ryohei Kagami's expression and couldn't help but get curious. "All right, I won't disturb you then." Takumi Sakaki waved his hand, and the bodyguards in black turned around and got into the car with him. Only after the car had driven away did Ryohei Kagami collapse to his knees on the ground, his eyes vacant. "Brother Peng," Kota Minazuki was just about to speak, but Ryohei Kagami grabbed him by the collar and said viciously, "Don't tell anyone about today's events, or you'll know what will happen." And Kota Minazuki quickly agreed, but when Ryohei Kagami turned and left with his secretary, he glared fiercely at him, lowered his voice, and said, "Just wait for Ryohei Kagami, I'll kill you sooner or later." Ryohei Kagami's biggest mistake was not understanding why someone who could betray Kaito Kagami, who even saved his life, wouldn't betray him. On the other side, after leaving school, I first went to the cake shop to buy 4 small cakes. Besides giving them to Shiori, Shiramin, and the kids, I also brought a piece of vanilla flavor for Roshia, then carried the cake into Shiramin Tower. Unexpectedly, as soon as I stepped out of the elevator, Reika Shiramin Elamoch and the 2 nurses were already waiting for me there. Liao Lu Wei and Yuzuki Shiramin both clung to their father's leg. Kureha Hanabusa walked over with a smile and said, "Mr. Kagami, let me hold it for you." "Thank you, Kureha Hanabusa." I quickly handed the things to Kureha Hanabusa, bent down to pick up the 2 girls, and "How did you guys go?" The girls were eager to see you, and since you were free for the moment, Reika smiled and said, "He's always buying them something delicious again." I promised to bring a small cake for Shiori and her daughter. I remember you liked vanilla flavor, so I brought you a portion too. I held the child and watched Reika Shiramin and Shiori Shiramin. However, I didn't even notice that the way I looked at them no longer avoided them, but instead carried a trace of tenderness and affection. Shiyana, I took the child down first. No need. I originally planned to take the child to the private restaurant I ordered. My cousin happened to have business to discuss, so I let him go. Kureha Hanabusa will arrange for someone to order for us. Hearing Reika Shiramin's instructions, Kureha Hanabusa quickly took out her phone to give instructions. "Brother, hurry to the lounge," Shiori Shiramin urged me, still waiting to eat some cake. I was helplessly urged by Shiori Shiramin and my daughter, while Reika Shiramin smiled and followed us into the lounge. Behind her, Kureha Hanabusa looked at this so-called family of 5, feeling both happy and helpless. The identities of the eldest and second young ladies were truly one husband, and no one could do much about it. But was this really good to Kaito Kagami? The lounge is very large with 2 beds, and since the sisters share one lounge, a lot of things are prepared. This was the portion of food. Reika Shiramin glanced at it, serving the kids' dishes. "Tonight, maybe we shouldn't stay home for now. Tomorrow, Shiori and I both have time, and are thinking of taking the kids out to play. Kaito, can you take time off? I took out my phone, I can do it. I'll just mention it to the advisor. Tomorrow probably won't be anything urgent. With that, I'll book a presidential suite." Shiori Shiramani smiled. "When the time comes, my brother will take the daughters to stay in one room, and my sister and I will stay together." Jian. Okay. Just as Kureha Hanabusa, who came in to bring drinks, heard my answer, and her eyes slightly changed. but Reika Shiramine glanced at her. Eye-to-eye contact. Seeing the suppressed, sickly look in Reika Shiramine's eyes, Kureha Hanabusa immediately set out the drinks without saying anything. Remember to bring the bottle of red wine, Kureha Hanabusa? Sent last time. Hearing Reika Shiramine say this, Kureha Hanabusa quickly looked up, seemingly asking with her eyes, but Reika Shiramine just nodded. Kureha Hanabusa glanced lightly and said in a deep voice, "I understand. Miss, they're about to make a move again." Kureha Hanabusa glanced at me as I was eating and comforting my daughter, and couldn't help but feel even more sympathy for this man. I saw Kureha Hanabusa go out and curiously asked, "Why are you still holding wine? The child is here." "Don't worry, brother. It's a solid bottle of red wine. My sister and I just drink a little each time, just a little bit of each person. At the end of the event, add a piece of marbled beef to my bowl. You know there's been going on at the group lately. Drinking more helps us rest well." I didn't ask any more about. After dinner, Kureha Hanabusa packed the red wine and the small cake I bought for them together, and followed them downstairs. Once in the car, the two sisters sat in the back seat, holding the child. "Shiori Shiramine sent me the location. The hotel isn't far from here, and it's only a short while before you arrive. The suites are large and have 2 rooms. The 2 little ones were excited to stay outside for the first time, and played with me in the room. But since they didn't nap in the afternoon and instead went to the Shiramine Tower, they started complaining about being sleepy. Then I led them to wash up. Reika Shiramine and the others were very attentive, and in the afternoon they had pajamas bought and delivered. After changing into their pajamas, the 2 daughters went to bed, and soon went to bed. "Kaito, let's have a drink together." Loshia saw the child sleeping, held a glass of red wine, and handed it to me. "The money has already been transferred to your card. Congratulations." Without me, I was just lucky and I felt a bit awkward. After all, I succeeded because of the help of Reika Shiramine and the others. "Isn't luck also part of preparation?" Reika smiled. "Let's just have a drink to celebrate." I didn't think much of it, and finished the wine in one gulp, though the taste seemed oddly bitter. "Come with us. Shiori and I still have something to talk to you about." I didn't suspect anything, and followed Reika Shiramine to their room. But as soon as I entered, I felt a bit dizzy and my body swaying. "Bro, are you okay?" Shiori Shiramine hurried over to support me. "How did I faint like this after just one drink?" "It's fine. I hadn't even said anything before I collapsed onto Shiori Shiramine, nearly 190 centimeters tall, and I was pressed down. If it weren't for Reika Shiramine's help, Shiori Shiramine probably wouldn't have been able to support me. The 2 of us had to help me to the bed. The madness in Shiori Shiramine's eyes was completely unmasked, and a sickly smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Brother, why are you still so defenseless? First, take the girls to the neighboring room. A nanny arranged by Takumi Sakaki is already waiting." Reika gently stroked Kaito's cheek, but the possessiveness in her eyes was unsettling. Meanwhile, inside the Su family villa, the young lady needed to reconfirm the engagement banquet schedule, but the accompanying guests received no response. "No need. Whatever." "Is young Master Kagami still missing from the guest list?" Ayaka asked. The butler nodded. "Yes, miss. Would you like me to send an invitation to Kyoto University?" "No need." Ayaka Takashina returned to her own room. As soon as she closed the door, she felt drained, leaning half against the snow-white door, slowly sprawling on the floor. Why had she come to this point? Suddenly, she touched the bracelet on her wrist. For a moment, Ayaka Takashina's dim eyes seemed to glow. She would surely understand me. Ayaka Takashina quickly stood up. Kaito Kagami was not a cold person. I knew it was my fault. Kaito Kagami would definitely understand me. Trembling, she found her bag, took out a newly issued SIM card, transferred it to her own phone, and blocked all her contact information. She only had a new card. After hesitating for a long time, she dialed the number she had always pinned to the top. Every ringtone made her heart race. And just as the call was about to hang up automatically, it was finally answered. But immediately after, a pleasant tone, tinged with laziness and exhaustion, made Ayaka Takashina feel as if she had fallen into the air of ice. Ayaka Takashina couldn't believe that there was actually a woman beside Kaito Kagami. She had loved her so much back then. How could she possibly be like this? "Who are you to be the owner of this phone?" Ayaka Takashina's tone was full of anger. Hearing her voice, the other side seemed stunned for a moment, then suddenly laughed. "Who do I think I am? Ayaka Takashina. This time it's 23:49 at night. I held her phone, "Who do you think I am?" and asked Kaito Kagami to answer the call. Ayaka Takashina suppressed herself and tried not to shout, but her voice kept trembling. But hearing it on the other end of the phone seemed even happier. Half a half probably won't do. This time she had just gone to bed. After all, she'd been asking for 4 hours and was a bit tired. "How about you wait and I'll wake her up?" "You shameless." Ayaka Takashina's face turned bright red. Not only because she wanted to speak with him, but her blunt words were filled with anger and resentment. "Kaito Kagami, you actually let yourself fall so low, you actually did. Sister reminds you, I am her woman now, and besides, I have her child." Reika Shiramine wears a robe, her face flushed red. Beside me, I was sound asleep. Meanwhile, Shiori Shiramine came out of the bathroom, wiping his head with a towel, his face also flushed, and a faint smile on his face. "Impossible, how could she possibly do it?" "Nothing is impossible. You gave up on her, didn't you?" Reika Shiramine said provocatively. "So Ayaka Takashina, please stop contacting her." Otherwise, Reika Shiramine's voice suddenly turned icy cold. Even through the phone, Ayaka Takashina could feel a bone-deep chill. "I will make you regret it. Regret it. You once stole her for several years. She is our sister, and in this life, the next will always be ours." Seeing this, Ayaka Takashina hurriedly hung up the phone, her mind completely blank. Reika Shiramine's threat was serious. Not a joke at all, even carrying a chilling madness and hatred. Who exactly were these sisters? She couldn't remember having any sisters in the same circle as Kaito Kagami in the past. That girl always felt familiar, but couldn't recall where she was listening to it. Knowing how to get through must be fake, it's voice change, it must be voice change. Ayaka Takashina seemed to think of a way to comfort herself. "Kaito Kagami, you're so childish. You cover up your feelings for me in this way, but you must still have me in your heart." Looking at the disconnected call, Reika Shiramine's lips curled slightly, and she casually blocked the number. Shiori Shiramine casually tossed the towel aside and walked to the bedside, kissing Kaito Kagami. Kaito Kagami's condition was strange, his eyes somewhat vacant, slightly narrowing as if conscious yet seemingly unintentional. "Sister Shi, you won't be in trouble, will you?" Hearing Shiori Shiramine's words, Reika Shiramine rolled her eyes at her, then pushed her aside. "I didn't see you just now. Don't worry, don't worry. It's only once or twice. It's fine. This medicine will retain some of her consciousness, but overall, she's still in a half-awake state. If you hadn't insisted on using the medicine, I wouldn't have used it. Sis, you were even more exaggerated than I just now, okay?" Reika Shiramine wrapped her arms around my neck, softly kissing me. Kaito, I felt like a puppet, actively kissing Reika Shiramine so close by. I felt like I was dreaming, as if I had been captured and possessed by 2 female demons. I couldn't see their faces, but I could feel their wild possessiveness and the voice seemingly invading my mind. "You are ours. You will always love us, so don't be afraid. We will love you. We will always love only you." I just felt utterly exhausted and powerless to resist. The whispers that seemed to tempt me to fall made me feel that being so fallen around them wasn't a big deal. "Sleep, Kaito," Reika Shiramine kissed my cheek. "Tomorrow you won't remember, but it's okay. I'll make you willing so you never can leave us again." The next morning, when I woke up, I felt my whole body ache, and my shoulders aching faintly. How did I end up sleeping here? I looked at the layout of the room, a bit surprised. This must be the room where Reika Shiramine and the curtain were standing together. "I'm sorry, Kaito," Reika said, holding a glass of milk as she sat beside the bed. "I've been under a lot of pressure lately and haven't been sleeping well. I put a mild sleep aid in your wine last night. It was the first time I'd done it, and I misjudged the dose." I just stared blankly at Reika Shiramine. No matter how I heard it, it didn't seem right. Who in their normal mind would add extra ingredients to their wine? Reika Shiramine seemed to have dropped it, kneeling by the bedside and saying, "See for yourself. I'm not lying to you." Jianqiang, following her finger, "It really was a box of sleep-aiding medicine, but I still didn't quite believe how much you added. Why do I feel like I thought about it for a long time yesterday and can't remember what happened last night?" At that moment, Reika Shiramine handed me the milk and said, "It's my fault for Shiori and I for letting you drink 2 more cups. Later, you slept here, and Shiori and I went to keep the daughter company. Seeing Reika Shiramin looking like she was family, I couldn't help but feel a bit sorry and asked, "Did Runa and Yuzuki disturb you too?" Fortunately, the child was very obedient, but yesterday, the four of them squeezed together was indeed uncomfortable. Reika Shiramin smiled. "Actually, I want to stay and take care of you, but you always keep distancing yourself." No, I was just about to say something, but Reika Shiramin suddenly placed her hand on my lips. The sudden flirt made my face flush. I know what happened back then, and you don't want to keep feeling guilty. Reika Shiramin slowly withdrew her fingers. "Besides, you know my sister likes you too. Both she and I gave you children. It's only natural that you have a hard choice." Then Reika Shiramin handed me the milk, smiled, and stood up. "It's okay. I can wait for Shiori. Or wait. After drinking the milk, get up. It's almost noon. I've booked a good Japanese restaurant, and the child came in looking for you as soon as she got back." My lips moved, but I still couldn't say anything about what happened back then. I always felt something was off, but I never imagined it could be the Shiramin sisters' scheme. After spending so much time together, I felt their favoritism toward me, which gradually made me attached. Leaving behind Reika Shiramin, or Shiori Shiramin, left me completely unsure of what to do. Why can't I have both? A thought suddenly popped into my mind, but I immediately cursed myself inwardly. I don't even deserve a single one, and I still fantasize about the pale yellow female eagle. So I put aside these unrealistic thoughts and went with the sisters to a Japanese restaurant. "Brother, I remember you last time you ate Japanese dishes with me. I love Kong's netted hami melon, right?" Shiori Shiramin smiled and added snowflake wagyu beef to this place. I had already warned in advance. Absolutely the freshest. I kept my head down, eating, refusing to look up. Meanwhile, Moir glanced at his dad curiously, glancing at him. "Dad, why is your face so red?" "Ah, it's a bit hot. How could it not be red?" I felt my feet rubbing against my legs. I looked up. Reika Shiramin and Shiori Shiramin looked at me with both smiles. "Hurry up and eat. Aren't you taking the kids out to play later?" I lowered my head and said in a low voice, "Stop messing around." "All right." Reika Shiramin shrugged, resting her chin at me, but her words were directed at the waiter. "Bring out the desserts. By the way, Kaito Kagami, can you go to the front desk with me?" "Sis, I'm going to Shiori Shiramin too." I was about to object, but Reika Shiramin was so arrogant that she didn't care about the child. Shiori Shiramin's hatred was real. His obsession with me was real, and his sister's suppression of his bloodline was real. I didn't understand what was going on, and after following Reika Shiramin out of the private room, I asked what I was doing at the front desk. "Oh, I want to buy sake. This place is pretty good. Could you help me get some?" "Can't we wait until we come out?" I haven't finished speaking. Suddenly, Reika Shiramin grabbed my hand and led me into an empty private room nearby, then grabbed my collar and pulled it down, kissing me fiercely on the lips. Kaito held me, and Reika Shiramin's words were filled with desire, tenderness, and an uncontrollable madness. And I actually hugged him, and even I didn't know why I was like that. But Reika Shiramin in her arms seemed even more excited, tightly wrapping her arms around my neck and deepening the kiss. It felt as if half my breath had been stolen. I could only catch the pleasant scent of Reika Shiramin's perfume. "Sorry, Kaito, I like you." After the kiss, Reika Shiramin's eyes grew hazy, her tone soft. My mind went blank. When I heard Reika Shiramin say she liked me, I took the initiative to kiss her. Slowly, the two of us slid down against the wall. It was the first time I knew that the aloof Reika Shiramin, who treated me like a sister, was actually so crazy, clutching my head tightly, as if trying to merge me into my very bones and blood, swallowing me whole. Half, I love you. Little Schwan Reika Shiramin is breathing heavily, rain dripping in my ears. Don't leave me, never leave me. "Reika!" I hadn't even answered when she kissed me again, the faint taste of blood touching my lips. But Reika Shiramin ignored everything, as if nothing mattered to him. Only this man before me did Reika Shiramin part from me after a long while. He stroked my rosy lips with lipstick, smiled faintly, and said, "You're finally willing to hug me first." My eyes were lost and stared blankly at the woman before me. Why is it me? I am not worthy. You and I said you deserve it. Loshia gently wrapped my head in her embrace. Don't think about that. Think about Will, think about Yuzuki, Kaito. You're destined to be me and Shiori. I struggled to leave. as if suddenly enlightened. But Reika Shiramin seemed to have anticipated this, holding me tightly and refusing to let go. Don't even think about it. Is this not okay? Reika Shiramin held me tightly, burying my face in his chest. Kaito, don't overthink it. Just remember that you are the father of the child, and your dear husband is ours. Alright, it's not me. I'm gonna suffocate Reika Shiramin. This way of holding Reika Shiramin is really a bit unbearable. Lucia quickly let go of my head. After catching my breath for a few moments, Lucia seemed addicted and steadied himself. At that moment, my phone rang. The strong Reika Shiramin kissed me while pulling out her phone. Another unfamiliar number. Shia, I had to answer the phone and finally catch my breath. But Reika Shiramin didn't give me that chance at all. I went back in steadily, swiped the screen to answer, and even deliberately turned on the zoom. Yin Kaito Kagami. It's me. Ayaka Takashina's tired voice came through. It's been a long time. Can we meet just once? Hearing Ayaka Takashina's voice made me very suspicious. Waiter Reika Shiramin spoke directly. I was kissing her, Miss Takashina, but you forgot what I told you yesterday. It's you again. Ayaka Takashina raised her voice several notches as if stepped on in pain. Who exactly are you? Kaito Kagami asked Kaito Kagami to answer the phone. I was about to speak when Rosha steadied herself, regained her composure, seemingly even more passionate and crazier than before. After the kiss, Reika Shiramin saw the disconnected call and smiled, then gently slid her phone across my cheek, wondering how I wanted to get back together with her. I quickly shook my head. No, I was just curious why she was reaching out to me. No curiosity. If you want to be curious in the future, you'll only be curious. My sister Reika Shiramin and I licked our lips, recklessly, but not half finished. Let's go back. We'll buy sake when we leave. So she did it just to sneak out and do this kind of thing. I sighed and let Reika Shiramin domineeringly drag me out of the private room. Unexpectedly, I ran into Shiori Shiramin head-on. Looking at my sister and me, his red lips instantly changed color and turned gloomy. Seeing the bump, Reika Shiramin knowingly asked his sister what was wrong. Why was she so angry? Shiori Shiramin glared fiercely at Reika Shiramin, then grabbed my hand and left. Reika Shiramin simply straightened her clothes, smiled, and returned to their private room. Shiori, listen to me. The familiar private room, the familiar wall, but this time, the one sitting on your lap has become Shiori Shiramin. Compared to Reika Shiramin and Shiori Shiramin, he was even more frenzied, like a greedy beast fiercely kissing my face and lips. I don't know what's wrong with me. Reika Shiramin? I don't want to resist Shiori Shiramin. I don't resist either. I just feel this isn't right. But it seems there's always a voice in my mind telling me to obey them. They are the ones who love you most, and their closeness shouldn't be refused. Brother, you really want my life. Shiori Shiramin's hand restlessly slipped into my clothes. Touching my skin, my body stiffened for a moment, and just then my phone rang again. It was Ayaka Takashina. But just as I took out my phone, Shiori Shiramin snatched it away and borrowed my phone. Kaito Kagami, is it you this time? No, oh no, I'm my sister Shiori Shiramin, laughing like a mischievous little devil. But her eyes glinted with passion. Oh, I misspoke, but it doesn't matter. Are you sure you still want to listen? Moshiori Shiramin hung up the phone directly, then looked at my brother with a mocking smile, thinking, isn't the two of us enough? I didn't even say a word. I asked Shiori, and I had a mouth that was sore, but Shiori Shiramin didn't listen to me at all, instead kissing Reika Shiramin in the same grand way. At this moment, Ayaka Takashina, who was at the office, slowly slid down her phone. The voices of two women sounded similar in age to her. Ayaka Takashina's newly bought phone was thrown out again. Amid the sadness, it felt even more like being humiliated. Mushwan, you really have to punish me like this. Ayaka Takashina lay on her desk, her suppressed crying echoing for a long time. Suddenly, she stood up and hastily wiped the tears from her face. Muxwan, you are mine, and I will never give up. On the other side, I rubbed my lips, which were both red and mommy from being kissed, feeling something was off. I found it hard to refuse Reika Shiramin and Shiori Shiramin's overly intimate requests, and that feeling made me uncomfortable. And I always feel like I'm becoming more dependent and unable to live without Reika Shiramin and Shiori Shiramin, and today's events have gradually released some of the emotions I've been suppressing inside. Are you okay? Reika Shiramin saw me lost in thought and gently took my hand. Only then did I snap out of it, feeling a bit embarrassed and wanting to pull my hand away. But Reika Shiramin held her hands tightly, smiled softly, and said softly, "Don't refuse the little one." Chuan sighed after hearing Reika Shiramin's words and really stopped moving. At that moment, Reika Shiramin's phone suddenly received a message. Ayaka Takashina had come to the Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center. Her expression instantly darkened and became unreadable. Then she smiled slightly and put the phone away. After getting in the car, Reika Shiramin suddenly spoke. "How about we go check on Grandma?" Is that okay? I actually really want to take the child to spend more time with Grandma, but I feel a bit embarrassed to bring it up. After all, this matter isn't exactly honorable, and the Shiramin family has been very attentive to protecting the two little girls, so I felt even more embarrassed. It's fine. Besides, the child likes great-grandma too. He wants to take the child to see Grandma, and it's true. But more than anything, he can't wait to see Ayaka Takashina completely give up. In the Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center, Grandma looked at the somewhat uneasy Ayaka Takashina and couldn't help but sigh. "Ayaka, come over and see me," this old lady. "I bet there's something else going on." "Grandma, I regret it." Ayaka Takashina couldn't help but shed tears. "I was deceived by the sunglasses boy back then. Now I don't want to get engaged. I want to marry Kaito Kagami." "Ayaka, I don't want to blame you for what you did in the past. First, for your grandmother's sake, and since it's all in the past," her tone became a bit firm. "Come on, think about what happened back then. Kaito, before you were wrongfully accused, did you really think I didn't know?" And Ayaka Takashina looked at Grandma, her lips trembling, wanting to argue, but she couldn't say a word. "You met Kaito when they were 15. At that time, Kaito had an accident and partially lost his memory. At first, I never thought you could be with him. It was you who said you liked Kaito, so we arranged the engagement. But you secretly went out on dates with Kaito and the sunglasses boy, accepted his gifts, and even went to a hotel with him. At that time, you and Kaito hadn't broken up yet. It was as if a thunderclap had struck her ears." Ayaka Takashina's body trembled violently as she lowered her head, not daring to meet her grandmother's eyes. "Jing, are you wondering why I know how Grandma gave a cold smile? That playboy with sunglasses got into so many troubles that my son had to cover for me. I told your grandma before, but I'm afraid you think I'm biased and won't believe a single word. The next day, he provoked Kaito Kagami. Didn't you notice that Kaito Kagami has been distancing himself from you since that day? Do you think that ending the engagement and being with the sunglasses boy was the only way to hurt him? You already hurt his Ayaka Takashina." Ayaka Takashina stood up excitedly, her voice hoarse as she said, "No, Grandma, that day didn't happen at all. Does it matter? If someone with a boyfriend goes to a hotel with another man, who would believe you? There's nothing between you." Grandma is a bit emotional, and her breath becomes a bit chaotic. Kaito is no longer the young master of the Kagami family. As the old matriarch of the Kagami family, I have nothing to offer. Miss Takashina's status is beyond my grandson's reach. Seeing the bump, Ayaka Takashina felt her vision go black. She had always thought Kaito Kagami didn't know, and the boy in sunglasses had promised her to keep his secret. But she hadn't expected Kaito Kagami to know early on. No wonder that day when he left the Kagami family and we broke up, he was so calm. Ayaka Takashina didn't even have time to recall the past when the door was suddenly pushed open. I stood expressionlessly at the doorway, looking at her. After all this time, seeing the man who haunted her dreams again, Ayaka Takashina could barely contain her longing and threw herself into my arms. But when she saw my cold gaze, her heart felt as if it had been cut by a knife. "Ayaka Takashina, we've been apart for a long time. Please don't bother my grandma anymore." My voice is calm and without a trace of warmth. "What you should do now is prepare for your engagement to the sunglasses boy, not come here." Kaito Kagami and Ayaka Takashina reached out to pull me over, but to my surprise, the two little girls peeked out from either side, glanced at Ayaka Takashina, then looked up at me and asked Dad, "Who is she?" Ayaka Takashina felt completely drained. She really wanted to lie to herself that it wasn't Kaito Kagami's child, but these two girls were blind and looked like they were cast from the same mold. "You got married?" "No, this really is my child." I bent down and patted Yuzuki Shiramin and Yuzuki Shiramin's heads. Great-grandmother was there, why didn't she greet me? Great-grandma's two little bundles ran to the bedside, their little legs running. Seeing these two little milk balls, Grandma instantly couldn't open her eyes and laughed. My good ones are here, come on. Great-grandma touches and feels like they've gained some weight. Ayaka Takashina stared blankly at the two girls, then glanced at them again. I saw Zongmo Xuan expressionlessly point to the door and say, "Let's talk outside." After saying that, I turned and left the hospital room. Seeing the bumping into them, Ayaka Takashina hurriedly followed them out. Just as he stepped out of the ward, he saw Reika Shiramin and Shiori Shiramin standing outside, confident in her looks and figure. Ayaka Takashina couldn't help but feel overshadowed when she saw the sisters. "Hello, Miss Takashina," Shiori Shiramin smiled and greeted her. As for Reika Shiramin, upon seeing the outsider, she immediately returned to her usual cold and indifferent attitude, simply waving her hand slightly, then continued to cross her arms, her peach blossom eyes calmly sizing up Ayaka Takashina. Hearing Shiori Shiramin's voice, Ayaka Takashina felt her scalp tingle. The voice coming through the second call she made was almost identical to Shiori Shiramin's. "Brother, maybe you should go buy us some drinks." Shiori Shiramin smiled at me and said, "It's more convenient for women to talk with each other, isn't it?" I was just about to speak, but Reika Shiramin reached out and patted the back of my hand. The coldness on her face disappeared, replaced by a gentle smile. "Go on, it's fine." I thought for a moment, nodded, then turned to Ayaka Takashina and said, "Ayaka, what's past is behind you. It's time for us to face reality." "Kaito Kagami, listen to my explanation." Ayaka Takashina hurriedly tried to catch up with me as I left, but Reika Shiramin turned back to look at her, her gaze deep and icy. Ayaka Takashina, now quiet, didn't dare move again. The child in Miss Takashina's family is my sister and my father, so naturally it's my older brother, Shiori Shiramin, with his hands behind his back, smiling but not showing it in his eyes. "Suing you is meant to make you give up, and I'm not afraid that if word gets out, Miss Takashina is smart and should know the consequences of this matter getting out, right?" "And President Shiramin?" "Right, I didn't expect that, right?" Shiori Shiramin's smile grew even wider. "Miss Takashina, you saw it too. Whether it's me or my sister, who do you think you, the Su family's heiress, can compare to?" And Ayaka Takashina inexplicably felt powerless and suffocated. Kaito Kagami not only had a child, but also had the Shiramin sisters. How could that be even more absurd? The Shiramin family actually admitted to it. Miss Takashina had made her words very clear. A barely noticeable smile appeared at the corner of Reika Shiramin's mouth. "You're already in the past. From now on, don't contact Kaito, or I won't mind letting the Su family drain their blood." After a brief pause, Reika Shiramin suddenly spoke with a hint of provocation. "So, Miss Takashina, what do you have to compete with us? She has the tenderness Miss Takashina stole from her. Is that cheap?" "What do you mean?" Hearing her raise her head again, Ayaka Takashina's expression grew even more nervous. "When did I steal from her? I've known Kaito Kagami since I was little. But, you guys, I know the Shiramin family can dominate the world, but the longer I've known Kaito Kagami, the better I understand her." Suddenly, Shiori Shiramin grabbed her hair and slapped her hard across the face. How could I have been apart from my brother for so long? Shiori Shiramin's eyes were filled with cruelty and murderous intent. "Ayaka Takashina, why did your brother lose his memory at 15? Do you dare tell him?" Shiori Shiramin's grip was strong, and Ayaka Takashina's face instantly swelled. Her ears buzzed, and hearing Shiori Shiramin mention Kaito Kagami being 15 years old, Ayaka Takashina looked even more flustered. At that moment, Reika Shiramin stepped forward, took her sister's hand, then turned to look at Ayaka Takashina, a chill slowly emanating from her. Seeing the bump, Ayaka Takashina covered her face and instinctively took a few steps back. "Ayaka Takashina, I can give you a chance." Reika Shiramin said coldly, "You see, we sisters already share Kaito Kagami. I don't mind if she has one more." Shiori Shiramin heard Reika Shiramin's words and was anxiously about to speak, but Reika Shiramin glanced at her amnesia, so she held back for now. As for Ayaka Takashina, when she heard this, she suddenly wondered if she was crazy. Sisters working together as if giving birth was already an exaggeration. Yet she even said she'd be given a chance to be a child. As long as you do me a favor, I'll give you this chance. Reika Shiramin looks completely confident, so would Ayaka Takashina agree to that? Every time I came back from outside carrying a bag of drinks, Ayaka Takashina was already gone. Reika Shiramin stood at the doorway, saw me come back, and affectionately linked arms with mine, softly saying, "Don't worry, I've already spoken to her in information." I sighed and apologized, but I really don't understand what I told her. She's about to get married, so why did she come looking for me? Alright, don't think about it. Reika Shiramin is like a gentle wife helping me tidy up my clothes. Shiori is inside. You and she still want kids? Spend more time with Grandma. I'll go make a call and handle some company matters. Shia, if you have something to do at your company, you should head back first. It's fine, my brother is waiting for Grandma at the company. Let's go home together. Lucia deliberately emphasized the word, go home, a bit more forcefully. I just felt a warmth in my heart and nodded. Just as I was about to push open the door and go in, I quickly took a bottle of mineral water out of my bag and handed it to her. I know you don't like drinks, so I bought it for you. The fool Lucia touched my face, took the water, and let me go in first. When the hospital room door closed, Lucia's eyes darkened and unread. If she could give Ayaka Takashina a chance, she wouldn't even want to give her sister like herself a chance. Don't worry, Kato, I'll let the Kagami family suffer so much. Reika Shiramin's face rested against the hand that had just caressed me, as if it were like a tear of ear and nose with a lover. They're too filthy, unworthy of being your family. Ayaka Takashina is also her, so how could she possibly entrust her to you? Kaito, you are the one between Shiori and me. Only you and your daughter are your closest people. I really want to lock you up and never leave my side. Meanwhile, Ayaka Takashina, leaving the Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center, was driving a Porsche, hurrying back to the company while replaying Lucia's words. It was all the Kagami family who created a dream. As long as you agree to my plan, I'll give you my assistant's phone number. If anything happens, you can contact him. As long as you do it, I can allow you to return to Kaito's side. I even tried to persuade him after all. Besides Grandma, he only listens to us sisters now. The car suddenly stopped. Ayaka Takashina let out a sigh of relief, then started the car and hurried back to sushi even faster. HMPH, it doesn't matter. If it were Yoronki, how much sincerity could you possibly have? When the time comes, as long as Kaito Kagami accepts me again, I'll sell everything and take him abroad. Who would have thought it was them who originally were, but so what? If I can steal once, I can steal a second time. Meanwhile, seeing the two little ones made the grandmother much more spirited. Great-grandmother held up an orange in front of Yuzuki Shiramin while eating. Grandma was stunned for a moment, smiled and pushed her back, lovingly patting Yuzuki Shiramin's head and saying, "Yuzuki, be good Yuzuki, eat up." The little shook his head, his chubby little hand still holding up the orange. Seeing the bumper grandmother, her heart warmed, and she opened her mouth. Only then did Yuzuki Shiramin smile happily and put the tangerine into her grandmother's mouth. Grandma had eaten a lot and was healthy, and Yuzuki Shiramin said softly. Hearing this, Grandma's eyes reddened. She knew she probably didn't have much time left, but she still smiled and touched Yuzuki Shiramin's face, saying Yuzuki was right. Great-grandmother must eat more. Okay? Just as they were talking, Runa came over holding the large cherries Shiori had bought earlier. She looked up pitifully and said, "Great-grandma doesn't want to eat Runas." Grandma held the two milk balls in her arms, holding back her tears. If possible, she really wanted to spend a few more years with her grandson and two great-granddaughters. I saw that she didn't say anything but turned and left. The strong Shiori Shiramin hurriedly chased after him. I stood by the corridor window, eyes vacant, gazing out at the weather so beautifully. Not a single cloud in sight. Brother, don't be sad. Shiori Shiramin held my hand and already tried his best back then. I know that if it weren't for your help, Grandma wouldn't have lasted this long. I turned my head and didn't want Shiori Shiramin to see herself cry. Sooner or later, this day would come for me, and I could accept it. Shiori Shiramin gently wrapped his arm around me, his head resting softly on his arm, his tone soft. Brother, you still have me, sister and daughter, so don't be sad. Reika Shiramin quietly watched from the side. For once, he wasn't thinking about how to fight his sister for the reason that made him sad. A flash of determination flashed in his eyes. Then he took out his phone and walked to the corner of the stairs to dial a number. At this moment, Toma Shiramin in the Shiramin Tower's president's office saw the caller ID showing Reika Shiramin, and Toma Shiramin was so scared he nearly jumped out of his chair. Toma Shiramin, the son of Reika's uncle and now the CEO of Shiramin Holdings, looked at me. "What's going on? You and Shiori both quit your jobs and ran off to stay with my brother-in-law. I haven't said anything, but if something happens, don't make things difficult for him. It's nothing. I want Kaito to join Rongsing Group and how to deal with the Kagami family's follow-up." Reika Shiramin said coldly, his tone just like he would treat a subordinate. After silently cursing into his phone, Toma Shiramin said it was like a work report. Shunpei Kuze didn't need to worry. "I'm the major shareholder, and besides, my brother-in-law's abilities are obvious. As for the Kagami family warehouse fire, they rescued them one after another. Moreover, there was definitely a loss in the cargo from one warehouse. Someone had already started claiming compensation, but it wasn't to the point of severe injury." After thinking it over, Toma Shiramin continued. "Actually, there's no need to really let his family go bankrupt. It's not a big deal, so why go through all this trouble? That's too easy for them." Reika Shiramin sneered and said, "Have you finished your task?" "That's she, I'm the CEO. Yes, so is it done well?" Toma Shiramin felt stifled, but he really couldn't afford to provoke him. The two could only reluctantly reply, "Rest assured, they've already found someone to deliberately leak information to acquire the shares held by Madame Mo. If it's not ours, the Kagami family shouldn't notice. I know, I've already taken care of the previous 2 projects, and I'll have Kureha Hanabusa deliver them to you." Hearing Reika Shiramin's casual words, Toma Shiramin was still somewhat shocked. Together, 2 projects starting at 10 billion were handled lightly by Reika Shiramin. "By the way, the Roger Doobie you bought last time still tried to find a way to decide it. If you say you didn't give it to me..." Hearing Toma Shiramin's words, Reika Shiramin replied, matter-of-factly, "It was for Kaito Kagami. I was just asking for humiliation, and the money was still paid by Shiyashi." On Yaya Jian Manor's side, Loxia decisively hung up the phone. "Isn't he really treating me like a tool? You can use me to appease the kid?" Toma Shiramin gritted his teeth but was helpless. "Forget it. In my past life, I must have saved a notorious bandit before running into those 2 ungrateful wretches." On the other side, after leaving the Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center, I drove back to the estate. Seeing the 5 of them return, Takumi Sakaki was actually relieved. After so long without coming back, he was afraid his eldest daughter would elope with the child and Kaito Kagami. As soon as I got back, I got a call from an unknown number. I couldn't answer it again. "Enough, you unfilial son. You've blocked my number." Masayoshi Kagami's cold voice came through the phone. "Your grandmother owns shares worth 14.17 billion yen. I'll give her 14.17 billion yen in total, and not a yen more. Come tomorrow with the share authorization." Masayoshi Kagami couldn't wait any longer. Several major companies had already shown interest in acquiring those 10 shares. Of course, he naturally didn't know this was Toma Shiramin's idea. But when I heard Masayoshi Kagami's words, I just responded calmly. And then, regardless of whether he had anything else to say, I hung up and blocked that number without hesitation. On the other side, Masayoshi Kagami was about to say something, but he was completely taken down by me. If I keep beating him, it won't work. This unfilial son is so good. Do you think I gave you this money so easily? You shouldn't have brought you home in the first place to annoy me. Dad was eating, and Runa Shiramin and Yuzuki Shiramin ran over and grabbed me. I saw the hostility in the child's eyes slowly fade. Holding the child's hand, the unfilial son went to the restaurant together. That night, after coaxing the 2 girls in Honglu to sleep, I returned to my room. Just after showering and changing into pajamas, my phone rang. It was still an unfamiliar number. After Kaito Kagami answered, Ayaka Takashina's hoarse voice came through, carrying a hint of guilt. Hearing her voice, I sighed and said, "I admire you. After things have come to this point today, why are you still contacting me? So, will you leave them, okay?" Ayaka Takashina said with a tone of grievance, seemingly still crying. "Child, if you like me, I can treat it as my own. If they don't agree, you can take me away, I can still give you a child." "Ayaka, I told you, We all need to face reality. I rubbed my brow. After more than 3 years of your official announcement and studying abroad for so long, you never thought about what meaning you have now. I'm just afraid I'll let you down, Ayaka Takashina gasped. If I had gone over and heard her cry, I would have felt bad and heartbroken, but now my heart was completely gone. Ayaka, please don't call again. I don't want to repeat my words. What's past is past. Let it go. You saw I have a child. No matter what, I will never betray the child's mother. Dear Kaito Kagami, you really are foolish. Ayaka Takashina suddenly laughed. How can you trust the Lei family so much? You know what status the Lee family holds in the Kyoto and how much wealth they have. How could a family like this allow such absurd things? When that time comes, the hurt will definitely be you, and the one abandoned will only be you, Kaito Kagami. Don't be stubborn. The Lex sisters have been above all these years and have high standards, yet countless wealthy young men have longed for them, but never got them. You and they are not in the same world. Kaito Kagami, we've known each other since childhood. Don't forget that when you were 15, you couldn't have survived without me. Hearing Ayaka Takashina's words, I sighed. At 15, I was injured and partially lost my memory. When I woke up, others described it as Ayaka Takashina saying she saved me. Ayaka, I can't give up on my daughter just because of this, and you were the one who betrayed me first. After saying that, I hung up the phone. This time, I didn't block that number. Ayaka Takashina could only hold her head and cry when she heard my words. I originally wanted to memorize the number, hesitated for a moment, then deleted the call log. After all, Ayaka Takashina had saved herself. If anything happened, I might help her, but I wouldn't agree to anything else. At that moment, the door suddenly opened. Reika Shiramine was wearing a black gold nightgown with a waist chain. Shia, why do I feel a bit embarrassed seeing her dressed like this? Before she could finish, suddenly, Reika Shiramine rushed into my arms, hugging me tightly. Kaito? I miss you. Reika Shiramine's voice was soft, but her eyes were full of desire. I was stunned for a moment, my mind a bit confused. The next second, Reika Shiramine suddenly grabbed my collar and kissed me on the lips. And so I was swept away. It was the first time seeing Reika Shiramine like this. Desire flickered in her eyes like an unquenchable fire. An hour had passed, yet Reika Shiramine seemed tireless. Kaito, Reika Shiramine's voice hoarse, clasped her hands tightly with both of mine. Forgot the past, forgotten others, everything about you should belong to me, so stay by my side and sink into it. After almost another hour passed, the bedboard finally stopped shaking and moving. The original week-long plan was planned by Kaloshia no longer wanted to wait. Moreover, Ayaka Takashina's appearance and her indifference only made Kaito Kagami feel that she didn't care and that she deeply disliked Ayaka Takashina. Because of her, Kaito Kagami had amnesia and still couldn't recall her and Shiori Shiramine. Our eyes were dazed and dazed, staring at each beautiful woman before me. For a moment, I felt a bit dazed. I had been suppressing my emotions for so long, I didn't know what to choose, so I simply chose not to stay quietly by their side. But today, the emotions I had been suppressing finally poured out. After all, I am a man, full of youth, full of energy, and incredibly strong. Carry me to the bath. Kaito, Reika Shiramine, kissed my lips, then hold me back later. I really carried her to the bathroom. The warm water dripped down from the shower. Reika Shiramine wrapped her arms around my neck, greedily kissing me. Kaito, me, and Shiori. Let's take the child and leave Kyoto. Reika Shiramine gently caressed my firm chest. Let's go somewhere quiet, okay? She had thought about it. This wasn't a solution, so I couldn't help but speak up. I was wrong once, and I enjoyed your tenderness too much, but in the end, this was wrong. What I answered was Reika Shiramine's passionate kiss. Was it wrong? Of course it was. Reika Shiramine knows better than anyone. But is it important? Is it no longer important? To Reika Shiramine, I am one and only my own sister, and also irreplaceable. When the Shiramine family faced a major upheaval, the sisters were the only ones they could trust. At that moment, I was like a beam of light breaking through the darkness and came before them. Kaito, I told her not to think about it. Reika Shiramine's words seemed to have a magical power. making me unconsciously realize that you can't live without us, right? So a somewhat sickly smile appeared on Reika Shiramin's face. Don't resist. Don't think about leaving us. Kaito, every man longs to be like you now. Why do you still cling to those rules and regulations? Like a demonic raindrop. It's full of temptation, yet tinged with a hint of danger. Reika Shiramin had always made psychological suggestions to me just to break down my psychological defenses. You are clearly infatuated with us. Whether it's our looks, bodies, or our love, Reika Shiramin looked at me in a daze and spoke gentler. She kissed my face while breathing softly into my ear, breathing like blue water. So you just now broke free from psychological constraints. Didn't you feel happy like that? I just felt my mind go blank, as if the sound of water falling from the shower had disappeared, replaced only by Reika Shiramin's raindrops in my ears. Kaito, you wouldn't refuse me, would you? My physical instincts grew, and my suppressed desire for innocence in my mind was slowly and completely released. Kaito, admit it. You want to be with the two of us. Reika Shiramin's smile grew even more unstable. You can't live without us anymore. I looked up, different from before. I hugged Reika Shiramin tightly, and for the first time, the emotions in her eyes were no longer suppressed. Those pupils, as if submerged in a lake, reflected only Reika Shiramin's shadow. 30 minutes later, wearing pajamas, I carried the exhausted Reika Shiramin back to her bedroom and gently put her down. Kaito, aren't you staying with me? Reika Shiramin's voice was hoarse, but it added a touch of softness, as if she were acting spoiled. I kissed her, scratched her head, and said we should go back to sleep. Otherwise, it wouldn't be appropriate for Will and Yuzuki to see each other tomorrow morning. All right, Reika Shiramin didn't ask for more. Then you should rest early. Then I helped her tuck her in, and when I left, I turned off the light and gently put it on. Door. Hey, I sighed as I walked toward my bedroom. I was forcibly kissed during the day, attacked at night. I always thought my Deo heart was stable, but now it seems solid. What's the point? Bye-bye shook her head, pushed open the door, and returned to her bedroom, just sitting down on the edge of the bed. Suddenly, the soft body behind pressed tightly against my brother and sister. Shiori Shiramin's voice was cold, contrasting with his warm body. Mumuki, I was startled. What are you doing? Brother, you and sister can be with me, but not with me? Shiori Shiramin bit my shoulder hard, still not satisfied, then suddenly kissed me from behind. Rather than kissing, it was more like nibbling on the lips. Shiori, calm down. Seeing this, I wanted to push her away, but for some reason, my subconscious felt I shouldn't push her away. Shiori Shiramin roughly grabbed my pajamas and pulled me down to the bedside, brother. With a tear falling onto my face, I was momentarily stunned. Under the dim light, tears glistened at the corners of Shiori Shiramin's eyes. Brother, why are you unwilling to accept it? Shiori Shiramin said aggrievedly, saying that if you can be with your sister, you can't. Brother, I miss you too. However, I didn't notice a faint, barely noticeable smile flickering across his tear-streaked face. You don't like to look, and I know more than an hour has passed. Thinking of Loche's actions, Shiori Shiramin was furious. His sister had locked him in a room and even stole his phone. When he lured some people to open the door for him, he realized his sister had already succeeded, and brother was returning. Ignoring him didn't mean anything, but my counterattack was meaningless, because Shiori Shiramin never intended to ask for my opinion. What hurts me the most is, what was the ridiculousness of last night? Wasn't it sleeping until 10 and hiding? Takumi Sakaki thoughtfully brought over a large cup of goji berry tea and a bowl of traditional Japanese Kampo medicine. What is this? Takumi Sakaki looked at the dark medicinal soup and felt something was off. Takumi glanced at me and said meaningfully, Mr. Kagami is in good health, but he still needs this. It's a kidney-supporting herbal prescription prepared by a specialist at the young lady's request. I've lived so long and only heard of prenatal medicine you just said to nourish the kidneys. I tried to find those two culprits fiercely, but Takumi Sakaki told me that before I got up, the two sisters had returned to the Shiramin family's ancestral residence with the child. The old madam of the Shiramin family was thinking of her granddaughter. The two kids were still fussing about looking for their dad, but Reika Shiramin and Shiori Shiramin pushed them back. Mr. Kagami also wants to go to the Shiramine family for dinner, but after a while, the young lady instructed you to have the recipe for stir-fried kidney and beef penis soup with oysters. I quickly waved my hand to interrupt Takumi Sakaki, gritting my teeth and saying, "I'm in good health. Forget it, I'll take this medicine and won't be coming back at noon." Then I picked up the medicine bowl and drank it all in one gulp. The taste almost made me throw up my leftover rice. It was just too bitter, but because I hadn't eaten breakfast, Takumi Sakaki thoughtfully prepared lunch for me in advance. Just as expected, a few dishes came up, so how to look at them and how to nourish them. "You are going back to the Kagami family." And Takumi Sakaki looked at me in surprise when he heard me say I needed to go back to the Kagami family. I honestly explained my purpose for going back, then said, "I feel like my own father probably won't just give me money so easily. I'll go back with you. Takumi Sakaki thought about you. When you wanted to go back to Mo's house, things got so complicated. I'm afraid they'll make things difficult for you once we go back." I shook my head and said it was nothing. They know exactly what kind of share authorization is, so I won't bring the share authorization letter. I'm afraid I won't get the money today. After dinner, I was about to drive back to the Kagami family, but Takumi Sakaki gave me a new car key and showed me the Ferrari Shiori Shiramine had bought for me. Since I started following their sisters, I kept a close eye on the model and price. The black Ferrari Shiori Shiramine bought was worth about 5 million, so I reluctantly called Shiori Shiramine. But when they saw it was me, they didn't answer at all. They just replied on their phone one by one, saying, "Brother, if you ask about the car, I won't answer the call." Actually, I wanted to say a few words to him. This crazy girl's feelings run deep, biting my shoulder until it bled. When I woke up in the morning, my left shoulder was covered in bruises. Seeing this, I didn't refuse this time, and bro, I was the one. If you ask about the car, what matters is what you want to do. Zhengshang and me, please don't hesitate to like, subscribe, share, and reward to support the Mingjing and Diandian columns. Please like, subscribe, share, and support this book by Mingjing and Diandian. She glanced at me in surprise and couldn't help but smile. "Don't worry, Mr. Xingmo." Then he handed me a bag, which seemed to be filled with something. I opened it to confirm, nodded, got in the car, and left the manor. If you're not family, you won't enter the same door. Takumi Sakaki looked at Mr. Kagami with a wry smile. It was quite normal. He had a certain spirit deep down. After talking to herself for a while, Takumi Sakaki took out his phone and called Reika Shiramine. The eldest daughter, Mr. Kagami, had returned to the Kagami family on his own. She thought Masayoshi Kagami wouldn't easily give her the money. She wasn't wrong. How could someone like Masayoshi Kagami possibly give up money so easily? In the Shiramine ancestral residence, Reika Shiramine sat above a red curtain, her legs crossed, her expression cold and indifferent. I'm just worried they'll make things difficult for Kaito. Make sure the people at the Higashiyama Rehabilitation Center pay attention to the Kagami family. Right now, the only person who can threaten Kaito is probably Grandma. This young lady, Takumi Sakaki, hesitated for a moment. If the Kagami family made a move, they would find someone to threaten Mr. Kagami with force. Don't worry, it's fine. Reika Shiramine smiled confidently. I know exactly what the Kagami family is all about. Not to mention, they're the Shiramine family's bodyguards. They can't even find anyone who can beat Kaito, so there's no need to worry about that. After hanging up, Lucia was about to get up when her legs felt weak. Thinking of last night, a slight smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. If her sister hadn't caused trouble, it would have been perfect. Once, when I returned to the Kagami family villa, my only thought was that compared to where I was living now, this place was really a bit low class. Thinking about it that way, I felt a bit like the Hugh family's fierce authority. After a bitter smile and self-mockery, I pushed the door open. Old Master Kagami sat down on the sofa, and when he saw Kaito Kagami, his expression darkened for a moment. Lai Masayoshi Kagami also looked displeased, snorted coldly, and stopped looking. He worked diligently with a blank expression, but looked Kaito Kagami up and down. Meanwhile, Genji Kagami saw Kaito Kagami's gaze and sat down. By his side is the eldest daughter of the Kagami family, Miyabi Kagami. All three daughters of the Kagami family have inherited the beauty of friendship. Miyabi Kagami is not only beautiful, but also has a great temperament. How much is there? I waved at them with a very annoying look. Chairman Kagami, I'm here to get the money. You unfilial son Masayoshi Kagami slammed the table hard, grabbed the money, and quickly took out the share authorization letter, then got out of the house. TSK. I knew you, going back on your word, talking like nonsense. I'm not surprised at all by my own father's attitude. If I don't take it, I'll find 8 bodyguards to come over. Masayoshi Kagami's face turned green when she heard this. She really wanted to find someone to teach Kaito Kagami a harsh lesson, but her youngest son seemed like he was on a cheat code. No one could stop him. Enough. Old Master Kagami in the long robe spoke coldly. Kaito Kagami, I'm just asking you one question at a time. Your grandmother is determined to go all the way to the end, isn't she? Why bother asking? I shrugged. Back then, you drove Grandma away. Now you're blaming Grandma. Isn't that a bit much? Old Master Kagami stared at Kaito Kagami, as if hoping to see my guilty expression. But I didn't care, old man. You know well why. Back then, Grandma insisted on leaving home. They also understood. I pointed at Masayoshi Kagami and Chisato Himuro, both older and disrespectful, making the girl's belly bigger. In the end, the child isn't yours, Chairman Kagami. What a pity you almost had a younger brother. You're so presumptuous! The old master grabbed the tea table and tossed the cups on the tea table toward me. I dodged in a flash, but the teacup didn't even touch it. I fell to the floor. Back then, I said I drank too much. How long would your grandmother still bring up such a trivial matter? Old Master Kagami's fingers trembled as he pointed at me and shouted angrily, "And this is something a junior like you can casually bring up." You're shameless, blame me. My gaze turned cold. Old man, you know yourself. Is it just because of such a small matter that my words lose meaning? Kaito Kagami stood up as a love rival, interrupting with a displeased tone. My grandfather was right. What he said was right. Grandma could say no, but you couldn't. And you still didn't apologize to Grandpa. I didn't want to apologize. I gripped the money tightly in my hand. If you don't give me those shares, I'll just sell them. I know your whole family is shameless, but I didn't expect you to really not let me down. Brother, why make such a scene? Miyabi Kagami, who hadn't spoken until now, suddenly spoke. Normally, she wore a cold face toward me, but she was smiling. But there wasn't a trace of joy in her eyes. The Kagami family can't raise that much cash right now. Let's compromise. Give up the shares and my father will provide 7.09 billion yen. I also own a large apartment in central Kyoto. I can transfer it to you as compensation. Could Miyabi Kagami, this beauty, be so kind-hearted? Compared to Ryohei Kagami, Miyabi Kagami is not only more capable, but also more calculating. I didn't bring the authorization book, nor did I plan to ask for that many. Kaito Kagami gave Miyabi Kagami a deep look. Since Big Sister said so, I'm willing to step back. Step by step, let's settle it then. Miyabi Kagami turned to look at Masayoshi Kagami. This really caused a share outflow, which wouldn't be good for the company. How about this? Kaito Kagami, I'll buy you another car, and I'll personally subsidize you by 2.4 million yen. Is that okay? Hearing this, I didn't react yet. Ryohei Kagami's face beside me was already twitching. Miyabi Kagami's large flat in the city center was in a prime location. She had been there twice, but Miyabi Kagami had always declined. Now, she was actually going to give it to Kaito Kagami, not only taking Miyabi Kagami's own money, but also buying a car. So what right was that? We'll talk when you're willing to put up 7.09 billion yen. I loosened my grip on the bag. It looked like I wouldn't need anything today. I simply wanted to leave and cut all ties with the Kagami family. Just as I reached my car, Miyabi's voice sounded behind me. So you're really being kept by someone? Yesterday Mom said it was a limited edition Maybach, and today you've traded it for a 118.1 million yen Ferrari. I turned to look at Miyabi Kagami. She returned to her usual expression, as if everyone owed her money. Is something wrong? I know in my heart. President Mo, who will interact with me, let me think. Are you also thinking about the shares I hold? Heh, as expected, you're much smarter than that fool Ryohei Kagami. Miyabi Kagami no longer hid her feelings. When mentioning Ryohei Kagami's food talker, she was full of disgust. To be honest, if you were my only son, I would really be willing to support you wholeheartedly. As for me, the eldest sister, I can't even mark a punctuation mark. What's the difference between myself and being abandoned by the family? Ryohei Kagami was still being schemed against behind his back, and you wanted to usurp the throne. That's right, Miyabi answered directly. I'll cooperate with you. Later, I can even share the information with you. After thinking for a moment, I said, I'll cooperate too. But I will hand over the shares only after I receive the money. You can be the master of grandma. Of course not, I wouldn't agree to it either. Hearing my words, Miyabi Kagami nodded and then said, Don't worry, wait for my news. I'm not mom or dad, I mean what I say. After I saw Miyabi Kagami hail a taxi and leave, I slowly took a voice recorder out of my pocket and couldn't help but smile. On the other side, Reika Shiramine received a message on her phone. After glancing at it, she showed no expression and immediately locked her screen. What's wrong, sister? Shiori Shiramine walked over to Reika Shiramine and asked curiously. And Reika Shiramine chuckled softly, tapping her slender finger at her phone screen. Miyabi Kagami really couldn't sit still. She wanted to acquire Kaido's shares. Oh, she's finally about to make a move. Hearing Reika Shiramine's words, Shiori Shiramine wasn't surprised at all, as if the sisters had known all along. Half and half, Reika Shiramine sneered, picked up her phone, sent a message, then put it down. The recipient's note read, Ayaka Takashina. On the other side, I checked the time. I had planned to go to school, but halfway through, I received a video from Reika Shiramine. My two daughters were crying and making a scene in the old Shiramine family house. No matter how much Dad tried to comfort them, he couldn't do it. With no other choice, I had to drive to the Shiramine family. Driving to the Shiramine family's ancestral residence, he was surprised to find that the two little ones were already waiting at the front gate. Dad! Seeing Runa Shiramine and Yuzuki Shiramine running over with their short legs, they hugged Keiteko Kagami's legs on either side, looking up pitifully. Seeing those two, I could forget everything I wanted and just picked up the two little ones. The two sisters hugged their father's neck and kissed him deeply. Mr. Kagami, you're here. The nanny for the two girls looks at me like a savior. The young lady insists on seeing you. And since there are guests at the matriarch's side, she had no choice but to have the young lady call you over. It's all right, Dad is here. I put the two girls on the ground, holding one by the hand. Since the old lady has guests, I might as well take the kids back first. The eldest and second young ladies instructed us to wait for you and then take you inside. Hearing the nanny's words, I nodded, took my daughter's hand, and followed him into the old house. Passing by the reception room, the door was open, and Reika Shiramine and Shiori Shiramine sat on the sofa, their faces cold. Madame Shiramine chatted warmly with an elderly woman of similar age. Beside her sat a man in a deep blue haute couture suit, around 26 or 27, whose eyes occasionally drifted toward the Shiramine sisters. People like that usually came to the Shiramine family through arranged introductions. With Reika and Shiori's beauty and status, even the fact that they already had children wasn't enough to discourage wealthy heirs. Shaking my head, I still took the child and left my identity, which didn't allow me to do anything. The calls of Dad, and my two daughters snapped me out of my daze. Looking at my two adorable daughters in front of me, I sighed, composed myself, then took out my phone and said, Dad, can you find some cartoons to watch? At that moment, the door suddenly swung open. The man who had been in the reception room walked in without knocking. He was stunned for a moment when he saw me, then arrogantly asked, Why are you hiring a male nanny? I glanced up at him and said calmly, Sir, knocking upon entering is basic courtesy. The man didn't pay much attention. Instead, he glanced disdainfully at the two milk dumplings who were focused on watching cartoons, then ordered, You may leave now. Seeing this, I didn't answer, but looked at him like a fool. I had to admit, he was good-looking, about the same height as myself, but his arrogant gaze always reminded me of a master of leftover sugar. Didn't you hear that you were Reika Shiramine or Shiori Shiramine's assistant? The man saw that I didn't move, and his tone carried a hint of displeasure. No matter who I marry, I don't like it. You should leave now. If I didn't leave, not only did I not want to leave, but I leaned back on the sofa and looked at him provocatively. The man with eyes didn't get angry. Instead, he scoffed, saying, As the future son-in-law of the Shiramine family, can't I handle an assistant like you? I'll talk about it when you become the Shiramine family's son-in-law. I suppressed the urge to punch him and ignore him. At that moment, Rona Shiramin glanced back at the man at just the right moment, stuck out his tongue at him, then said to me, "Dad, I want to have candy." Hearing Runa Shiramin call him Dad, the man's face stiffened. He didn't know if Runa Shiramin was Reika Shiramin or Shiori Shiramin, but it also proved that his once slim chances were even slimmer. After all, you met before marriage and had no upbringing. I'm Ryo Arasugawa from the Ye family in the Kyoto. Ryo Arasugawa, you should have heard of me, right? What did you just say? I looked directly into Ryo Arasugawa's eyes, my voice suddenly cold. Before Yi Chen could even notice, he sneered and said, "You scared me. I said I was from the Yi family in the Kyoto. I asked you what I just said, and my voice suddenly rose several notches, my tone devoid of any warmth." Seeing this, Ryo Arasugawa was a bit startled but still maintained an air of superiority, his tone sarcastically mocking me. Isn't it true that I was wrong? Isn't it true that I lack manners? I slowly stood up, gently placed Runa Shiramin on the sofa, patted his head, and turned to walk toward Ryo Arasugawa. "Do you really think a worker like you can hit me?" Ryo sneered. The Arisugawa family may not be as powerful as the Shiramin family in Kyoto, but we're still one of the city's leading households. The Kagami family is nothing compared with us. So when I slapped him in the face and he spun around twice on the spot, he thought he was dreaming. You, did you hit me just now?" I looked at him coldly. My daughter has no place for you to gossip like some trash who can't even knock on a door. Ryo Arisugawa had never suffered such humiliation. Looking across the Kyoto, few dared to slap the young master of the Yi family directly. Dad doesn't hit people. Runa Shiramin and Yuzuki Shiramin saw me slap Ryo Arasugawa, ran over, hugged my leg, and saw how pitiful my daughter looked. The anger in my heart instantly extinguished. I'm sorry, Dad was wrong. Dad shouldn't lose his temper and hit someone in front of my baby. Ryo Arisugawa became even angrier. You hit me, but you don't get along. I'll apologize to you. Your daughter apologized, but before he could say anything, the door was kicked open. Loshia walked in 10-centimeter high heels, her whole body radiating a chilling aura. The words that the strong Ryo Arisugawa said were forcibly swallowed back. The young lady had just acted like Mr. Arisugawa, but instead of knocking, she came in and spoke rudely to Mr. Kagamimo. Mr. Kagamimo and the young ladies. The nanny saw that Reika Shiramin was very dutiful and gave a brief summary of what had just happened. Mr. Kagami slapped the young lady because he was insulted by Mr. Arisugawa. Reika Shiramine glanced back at Ryo Arisugawa's cold, beautiful face, as if frozen with frost. The beautiful peach blossom showed no warmth or apology. Ryo's expression hardened. Reika, your people attacked me, and you still expect me to apologize? Your face is dirty, his hands, and the chill on Reika Shiramin's body is even stronger. Ryo Arisugawa was almost choked by one sentence from Roshia. What do you mean by dirty face and his hands? What does Reika Shiramine take him for? Is he trash? With young Master Arisugawa, life is so good. Even in the Shiramin family mansion, he dares to show off. Shiori Shiramin had somehow come in, arms crossed, and a fake smile on his face. He turned to Auntie and asked if the young lady had called her dad just now. The nanny explained that young Master Arisugawa had barged in without knocking and insulted Kaito and the girls. Ryo Arisugawa's face flushed red and then paled. Having grown used to arrogance and domineering, he was overly confident that just meeting the pregnant Reika Shiramin, or Shiori Shiramin, was already giving them face. But he had forgotten one thing. This was the Shiramin family's home. Even the head of the Arisugawa family would have to show proper respect here. Get out! Reika Shiramin shouted, pointing at the door. Seeing the collision, Ryo Arisugawa glared at me in humiliation but didn't dare say anything, so he could only leave quickly. Is the child all right? Without outsiders, the aura of living beings on Loshia and Shiori Shiramin seemed to vanish, as if they didn't exist. They walked over to me and asked gently, "It's fine, it's my fault. I feel guilty. No matter how angry I am, I shouldn't have hit someone in front of the child. Didn't I cause trouble for you? It's nothing, just a small matter." Rosia gently stroked my head, but Ryo Arisugawa was dominant, and Rosia really didn't care about it. At this moment, Shiori Shiramin nodded to the nanny. The nanny went out straightforwardly and casually closed the door behind her. She was the grandmother brought by the Yi family's matriarch, who had already refused. Lashaya sat on the sofa, reached out, and embraced Runa Shiramin, who was holding his father. Our child will only have you as a father. No one else can replace your Kaito.